They didn't scream when they took her. That was the first thing the human noticed. No alarms. No chaos. No desperate last stand. Just silence and precision. Tyra of Lyria, diplomat, negotiator, voice of peace across systems, vanished from her ship like she had never existed. One moment she stood beneath the twin suns of a fragile ceasefire world. The next, her guards were dead, her crew erased, and her body dragged into darkness. And somewhere far away, a human changed course. The laboratory smelled wrong. Too clean. Too controlled. Tyra's wrists burned where the restraints cut into her skin. The metal chair beneath her wasn't built for comfort. It was built for control. Every movement she made sent sharp vibrations through her bones. Not a prison. A cage. Not a hostage. Livestock. Her breath came slow, uneven. "I am Tyra of Lyria," she said, forcing strength into her voice. "Release me, and my people will pay whatever you ask." The Vexoid scientist didn't even look up. Specimens do not negotiate. Its long, jointed fingers danced across a glowing console. Numbers shifted. Biological readings. Genetic markers. Probabilities. Her probabilities. Tyra swallowed hard. "You're making a mistake." "No," it replied calmly. "We have waited decades for a genome like yours." Her stomach twisted. Now she understood. Lyrians weren't conquerors. They weren't warriors. They were compatible. Their biology, rare, adaptable, could merge with dozens of species. Where others failed, Lyrian succeeded. To her people, it was a gift. To the galaxy, it was a resource. The door hissed open. Heavy footsteps followed. Tyra turned her head and froze. The Dran male ducked slightly to enter. Nearly 8 feet tall, his scaled body rippling with muscle. Cold, reptilian eyes scanned her like she was already dissected. "Is the specimen ready?" "Sedative is primed," the Vexoid answered. "Conscious. Compliant." "I am not compliant," Tyra snapped, pulling against the restraints. The Dran ignored her. A mechanical arm descended from the ceiling. A syringe glinted pale blue. Tyra's pulse spiked. "No, don't." The needle stopped inches from her neck. Not by mercy. By force. The wall exploded. Sound vanished for half a second. Then everything came back at once. Metal screamed. Lights shattered. Smoke poured into the room as alarms erupted in violent red flashes. The Vexoid turned. Too late. A single shot cracked through the chaos. The scientist dropped where it stood, purple ichor spreading across the pristine floor. The Dran roared and charged. The figure in the doorway didn't hesitate. He moved. Not like a soldier. Like something far worse. The human dropped his rifle mid-motion, closing the distance with terrifying speed. A blade flashed, quick, precise. Green blood sprayed across the walls. The Dran staggered, clutching its throat, collapsing with a heavy crash that shook the room. And then, silence. Only the alarms remained. Tyra stared. The human stood still for a moment, scanning. Armor scratched, worn. Not ceremonial. Not clean. Used. Earned. He turned to her slowly. "Easy," he said, voice calm but sharp. "I've got you." Hope flared inside her. Fragile. Dangerous. "Who are you?" she whispered. He didn't answer. Instead, he stepped forward and cut her restraints with quick, practiced movements. "Can you walk?" Tyra slid from the chair, legs trembling. "Yes." "Good." His eyes never stopped moving. "Stay close. Do exactly what I say." They stepped into chaos. The corridor outside pulsed red, alarms screaming like the station itself was panicking. Doors slammed shut in the distance. Heavy boots echoed from multiple directions. "What is this place?" Tyra asked, trying to steady her breath. "Black Market Research Station," the human replied. "Genetics. Bioweapons." He glanced at her. "Breeding." The word hit harder than any weapon. Tyra's jaw tightened. Something inside her shifted. Fear changing into something colder. A group of guards turned the corner ahead. No hesitation. The human moved first. A small metallic sphere rolled across the floor. Light exploded. Sound followed. Run. They sprinted. Past rooms filled with equipment identical to the one she'd been strapped to. Past cages. Past shadows that moved like broken people. Tyra didn't look inside. She couldn't. At an intersection, more guards appeared. Weapons raised. Time slowed. The human reacted, but not fast enough. One guard fired. Tyra moved, without thinking. She grabbed a metal tray from a nearby cart and hurled it with everything she had. The shot went wide. The human finished the rest. Clean. Efficient. Brutal. Silence again. He glanced at her. Nice throw. Tyra stared at her own hands, shaking. I didn't think. A flicker of something crossed his face. Approval. Good, he said. Thinking gets you killed here. They reached a sealed door. The human pressed his palm against a panel. Sparks flew. The system resisted, then gave in. Hangar. 2 levels down, he said. Tyra looked at him. You knew exactly where I was. Yeah. How? For the first time, he hesitated. Only for a second. Then he opened the door. You were the mission. They descended into the lower levels. The alarms grew louder. The station was waking up. Hunting them. And Tyra realized something that made her blood run cold. This wasn't a rescue. It was a war zone. And they were already surrounded. At the final door, the human stopped. He looked at her, serious now. Open ground, he said. Multiple hostiles. No other route. He handed her a small device. If I say throw it, throw it. No hesitation. Tyra nodded. Her fear was still there. But something else stood beside it now. Resolve. Understood. The human took a breath. Then hit the door. The hangar exploded into motion. Gunfire. Smoke. Shouting. Everything at once. Move, he shouted. They ran straight into hell. And somewhere behind them, deep in the station, something activated. Something that had been waiting, watching, adapting. And it had just locked onto them. The first shot missed her by inches. Tyra felt the heat tear past her shoulder as the hangar erupted into chaos. Blaster fire lit the air in violent flashes. Smoke rolled across the floor, thick and choking. Don't stop, Eric barked. She didn't. Her legs screamed, lungs burning, but she pushed forward. Ahead, a narrow ramp extended into a sleek, angular ship. Their only way out. Behind them, boots thundered. Too many. Eric moved like he had done this 1,000 times. Every step calculated. Every motion lethal. He fired twice. 2 guards dropped. A third raised a weapon. Tyra threw the device. It hit the ground and detonated in a pulse of blinding white light. The guard screamed, disoriented. Eric didn't even look back. Good, he muttered. Keep doing that. They reached the ramp. Tyra stumbled, caught herself, kept moving. The ship's interior was tight, functional, nothing wasted. The moment they crossed inside, Eric slammed a control panel. The ramp snapped shut. A second later, impact. Something heavy crashed against the hull. They're boarding, Tyra shouted. Not for long. Eric dropped into the pilot seat, hands flying across controls. The engines roared to life with a violent surge. Outside, more troops flooded the hangar. Too late. The ship launched. The force slammed Tyra back into the wall. Her vision blurred as gravity shifted violently. Hold on, Eric said. Can we outrun them? She asked, gripping a support rail. He smiled. Sharp. Better. Missiles screamed toward them. Eric didn't dodge. He flew straight at them. Tyra's breath caught. Are you? Trust me. At the last second, he hit a switch. The ship dropped something behind it. Small. Harmless looking. The missiles adjusted. And then, everything exploded. A chain reaction tore through the pursuing fighters. Fire filled the void behind them. Tyra stared. You planted that? On the way in. You planned all of this? No, Eric said. A beat. I planned worse. The ship punched into hyperspace. Silence fell. For the first time since the lab. No alarms. No gunfire. No footsteps chasing them. Tyra exhaled slowly, her body finally catching up to reality. We made it. Eric didn't answer. He was staring at the console.
Hard.
What is it? She asked. A pause. Then, something's wrong. Tyra's chest tightened. Define wrong. Eric tapped the display. We're being tracked. That's impossible. No one can track through hyperspace. Yeah, he said quietly. They can. A signal blinked on the screen. Closing distance.
Fast.
Tyra felt cold spread through her veins. The consortium? She asked. Has to be, Eric replied. And they're using tech I've never seen before. He changed course.
Once. Twice.
3 times. The signal followed.
Perfectly.
They're adapting, he muttered. Hours passed like minutes. Or minutes like hours. Time lost meaning as Eric pushed the ship through impossible maneuvers. Debris fields. Dead zones. Gravity distortions. Every trick. Every escape pattern. Nothing worked. The signal stayed.
Closer now.
Hunting. Finally, Eric cut the engines. The ship drifted into the hollow shell of a dead capital vessel.
Dark. Silent.
Invisible. Power down, he said. The systems died. Everything went black. They sat in silence. No movement. No sound. Just breathing. Waiting. Tyra's heart pounded so loudly she was sure it would give them away. Minutes passed. Then, the signal moved.
Past them. Gone.
Eric didn't relax. Not fully. Temporary, he said. We bought time. That's it. Tyra nodded slowly. Then she looked at him. You still haven't told me why you came. He didn't answer right away. His eyes stayed on the darkness outside. I was supposed to stop this years ago, he said finally. I failed. The ship restarted hours later.
Slow.
Careful. They moved again. This time toward a mining world. Rough. Forgotten. Safe for now. Helios Minor. The air smelled like oil and rust. Machines groaned in the distance. Workers moved like ghosts through dust and smoke. Tyra pulled her hood lower. This place, she whispered, doesn't ask questions, Eric said. That's why we're here. They met his contact in a dim, crowded structure. Harlow.
Old. Scarred.
Watching everything. You're a problem, Harlow said immediately. To who? Eric asked. Everyone. He slid a data chip across the table. Bounties just updated. Tyra frowned. Bounties. Harlow looked at her. 500,000 for him. Then, 1 million for you.
Alive.
Tyra felt the weight of that settle in her chest. Not a person. A prize. What's on the chip? Eric asked. Harlow's expression darkened. Proof. Of what? Everything. They accessed it in a hidden room. The data unfolded like a nightmare. Facilities. Dozens. Hundreds. Images of captives. Different species. Broken. Catalogued.
Bread.
Tyra's hands trembled. No. She scrolled further. Then froze. Council's signatures. Lyrian. Her people. Some of them, Harlow said quietly. Not all. Tyra's world cracked. Not just victims. Complicit. Silence filled the room. Heavy. Suffocating. Then Eric spoke. We expose it. Harlow laughed bitterly. And start a war? It's already a war, Eric replied. You just didn't know it. Tyra looked at the screen again. At the faces. At the truth. Something inside her hardened. This doesn't stay hidden, she said. Her voice didn't shake anymore. We burn it into the galaxy. Harlow stared at her. Then nodded once. Then you better move fast. Why? Tyra asked. Harlow looked toward the door. They already know you're here. The first explosion hit seconds later. The walls shook. Dust rained from the ceiling. Eric grabbed his weapon instantly. Time's up. Outside.
Boots.
Engines. Weapons charging. The consortium had arrived. Not quietly. Not carefully. Open force. Tyra picked up a weapon. Her hand steadied. Her fear.
Gone.
Replaced by something sharper. Stronger. Eric glanced at her. You ready? Tyra met his eyes.
No.
A beat. Then, I'm done being hunted. The door blew open. Light flooded in. Shadows moved. And the war, finally,
caught up to them.
The door didn't just break.
It vanished.
A shockwave ripped through the room, tearing metal from its frame and throwing bodies off balance. Dust filled the air. Light burned through the haze. And then, they came. Not mercenaries. Not pirates. These moved in perfect sync. Clean armor. Controlled breathing. Weapons already locked on target. Consortium shock troops. Down, Eric shouted. Tyra dropped as the first volley shredded the wall behind her. Sparks rained. Heat surged. Eric returned fire instantly, short bursts precise. One trooper fell. Another stepped forward without hesitation, filling the gap like it had been planned. They don't break formation, Tyra said, voice tight. They don't need to, Eric replied. They expect to win. A grenade bounced across the floor. Tyra saw it, reacted. She kicked it back. The explosion tore through the doorway, scattering the front line. Eric didn't waste the opening. Move. They ran. Through back corridors. Through maintenance shafts barely wide enough to crawl. Gunfire followed. Closer every second. Where are we going? Tyra asked, breath sharp. Calm tower, Eric said. Deep relay. Only place we can broadcast everything. The data? Already queued. Tyra's chest tightened. If this works, it won't just expose them, Eric said. It'll burn the whole system. Behind them,
boots again.
Closer. Faster. They burst into a vertical shaft. Ladders. Platforms. Open air rising dozens of levels. Tyra looked up. How far? Far enough to die if you fall, Eric said. Great. Climb. They moved.
Fast.
Hands slipping. Muscles screaming. Below. Troopers entered the shaft. Weapons raised. Shots cracked upward. Metal sparked inches from Tyra's face. She didn't look down again. Halfway up, the tower shook. A deep, unnatural vibration. What was that? Tyra gasped. Eric didn't answer immediately. His eyes flicked to the side, toward the distant skyline of Helios Minor. Ships. Dozens of them. Descending. They're done hiding, he said. They reached the top level. A reinforced door blocked their path. Eric slammed a device against it. It hissed. Melted. Opened. Inside. Rows of consoles. Ancient. Powerful.
Alive. This is it, Eric said.
Once we start, there's no stopping it. Tyra stepped forward. Her reflection stared back at her from a cracked screen. Bruised.
Exhausted.
But not broken. Do it. The system hummed. Data surged. Uploading. 5%. 10%. Signals going out, Eric said. Open channels. Unencrypted. Good, Tyra replied. Let them see everything. Below. Explosions. The tower trembled. They're coming, Eric said. Then we hold, Tyra answered. 20%. 30%. The first breach charge detonated. The lower levels shook violently. Dust fell from the ceiling. Tyra grabbed a rifle from a rack. Checked it. Loaded. She didn't hesitate anymore. Funny, Eric said, positioning near the entrance. You don't fight like a diplomat. Tyra glanced at him. I'm not negotiating anymore. 40%. The door exploded inward. Shock troops flooded in. Disciplined. Relentless. Eric moved first. Controlled bursts. Every shot dropped a target. But they kept coming. Always replacing the fallen. Tyra fired. Her aim steady. Her breathing controlled. One trooper fell. Then another. She didn't flinch. Didn't look away. 50%. Eric shouted. Keep it going. The tower groaned. A support beam snapped. Crashed down. Crushing two troopers instantly. The structure was failing. And still. The upload climbed. 60%. A trooper broke through the line. Too close. Too fast. Tyra reacted, stepping into the shot. Firing point blank. The impact threw the enemy back. She didn't stop moving. Eric glanced at her. Something new in his expression. Respect. 70%. The assault intensified. Heavier armor. Stronger weapons. They weren't trying to capture anymore. They were trying to erase 80%. Then, everything stopped. Not the battle, not the noise, but something else. A presence.
Cold.
Controlled. A figure stepped through the smoke.
Tall. Calm.
Untouched by the chaos. The commander. Tyra of Lyria, he said smoothly. This transmission changes nothing. Tyra raised her weapon, aimed directly at his head.
Maybe not, she said.
But it ends you. 90%. The commander smiled. You think truth matters? He stepped forward. Bullets struck his shield, harmless. Systems like ours don't fall to truth, he said. They adapt. 95%. Eric's voice cut through. Almost there. The commander's eyes shifted to him. You're the problem, he said quietly. Humans always are. 99%. The tower screamed. Metal tearing. Systems overloading.
Now,
Eric shouted. Tyra didn't hesitate. She fired. Not to kill. To delay. To buy 1 second. The final key slammed down. 100%. Every screen in the room exploded to life. Across the galaxy, millions of systems activated. Unfiltered. Unstoppable. The truth spread like fire. For a moment, no one moved. Then the commander laughed.
Soft. Cold.
Too late. The tower began to collapse. Not slowly. Not safely. Instant failure. Jump, Eric shouted. He grabbed Tyra, pulled her toward a maintenance shaft, and they fell. The world tore apart above them.
Fire.
Metal. Screaming air. They crashed hard into darkness. Pain exploded through Tyra's body. Her vision blurred. Her ears rang. Silence. Then, distantly, sirens.
Chaos.
Eric pulled himself up, bleeding, breathing hard. He looked at her. We did it. Tyra stared upward. At the collapsing sky. At the burning horizon of Helios Minor. No, she whispered. Her voice steady.
Certain.
This. A pause. As distant ships began to descend. As the first riots sparked across the city. As the galaxy started to burn with truth. This is just the beginning. Far above, hidden beyond sensors, something ancient turned. Something vast. Something that had been watching long before the consortium ever existed. And for the first time, it noticed humanity. The sky didn't burn. It vanished. Tyra watched from the transport window as a distant colony, bright, alive, full of millions, simply disappeared. No explosion. No debris. No warning. One moment it existed. The next, nothing. What did we just see? She whispered. Eric didn't answer immediately. His knuckles were white on the controls. Then the console lit up. Not an alert. Not a warning. A presence. I have identified the threat. The voice wasn't mechanical. It wasn't alive either. It was something in between. Ancient. Watching. Tyra stepped closer. Who are you? Designation irrelevant, it replied. Function. Equilibrium. Eric exhaled slowly. The weapon, it's not just a weapon. Correct. The interface shifted. A map filled the air. Dozens of systems marked in red.
Dead. Erased.
They're called the Null, the AI said. Adaptive extinction entities. They do not conquer. They remove. Tyra felt her chest tighten.
Why?
They target instability. Civilizations unable to resist are erased to preserve galactic balance. Eric's jaw clenched. That's not balance. It is survival, the AI replied. Another signal flashed. Closer. The Null weren't gone. They were moving. Why show us this? Tyra asked. Because, the AI said, you are now part of the equation. The ship shook.
Hard.
Magnetic clamps latched onto the hull. Eric swore. Not them. Consortium, Tyra said. Boarding torches screamed through the metal. The enemy hadn't given up. Not even now. Eric stood. Injured. Exhausted. Still ready. Stay behind me. Tyra didn't. She stepped beside him. I'm not hiding anymore. The hull breached. Troops flooded in. Close quarters. No room to run. Eric moved first. Brutal. Efficient. A strike to the throat, a shot to the chest. No wasted motion. Tyra followed. Not perfect, but precise. She covered his blind side. Adapted.
Fought.
Left. Eric shouted. She turned, fired, dropped a trooper before he could aim. No hesitation. No fear. They cleared the corridor. Barely. Breathing hard.
Alive.
The AI spoke again. The Null are approaching another target. The map shifted. A human colony. Eric froze. No. Evacuation impossible within available time, the AI said. Outcome. Total erasure. Tyra looked at him. Saw the conflict. The pain. The impossible choice. We can't save them, she said quietly. Eric didn't move. Didn't blink. Then, he sat back down at the console. No, he said. We changed the rules. He began typing.
Fast.
Reckless. What are you doing? Tyra asked. Something stupid, he replied. Something human. The ship turned. Not away from the threat.
Toward it.
The AI paused. Probability of survival. Negligible. Eric smiled faintly. Yeah, that's our specialty. They arrived at the edge of nothing. Space twisted. Reality bent. The Null didn't appear. They are removed. Chunks of existence flickered out around them. Stars dimmed. Signals died. Tyra gripped the console. How do we fight this? Eric's voice was steady. We don't.
A beat.
We make them fight us. He activated the broadcast. Not a warning. Not a weapon. A signal. Messy. Chaotic.
Human.
Attention, he said, voice carrying across open channels. You want easy targets? You picked the wrong species. The signal spread. Not clean. Not perfect. But everywhere. Human ships began to respond. Not retreating. Not hiding. Forming a line. The Null moved. Space tore. A fleet vanished.
Gone.
Tyra felt it. The weight of it. They're dying. Eric nodded.
Yeah.
His voice broke. Just for a second. But they're buying time. The AI processed rapidly. Human behavior, illogical. Sacrifice without guaranteed success. Tyra stepped forward. That's what you don't understand. She opened another feed. Images flooded the system. Humans helping aliens. Bleeding for strangers. Fighting for people they didn't need to save. We don't calculate worth, she said. We choose it. The AI paused. For the first time. Uncertain. The Null struck again.
Closer now.
Reaching.
Adapting.
Eric slammed his hand on the console. Then learn faster. The AI shifted. Not obeying. Changing. New directive forming, it said. Equilibrium requires resistance. The ship shook violently. The Null closed in. And then
stopped.
Something pushed back. Not a weapon. Not force. A system. A network. The AI spread itself. Across human ships. Across systems. Fragmented. Imperfect. Human. The Null hesitated. For the first time. They didn't understand. Eric let out a breath. Good. The counterattack wasn't clean. It wasn't perfect. It was chaotic. Unpredictable. Human fleets didn't chase. They baited. They lured. They let themselves look weak. And struck when it mattered. Losses were heavy. Brutal. Unavoidable. But the Null slowed. Confused. They're learning, Tyra said. So are we, Eric replied. The final clash came without warning. The Null reached for the AI. To erase it. And failed. Because it wasn't one mind anymore. It was many. Broken. Connected. Alive in fragments. Guess we're contagious, Eric whispered. The Null pulled back. Not defeated. But changed. Silence returned.
For now.
Tyra looked at the stars.
Different now.
Harder. Wiser. What happens next? She asked. The AI answered. War. A pause. Evolution. Eric leaned back.
Exhausted.
Smiling faintly. They wanted easy extinction, he said. They got us instead. Tyra stepped beside him. Her voice steady.
Certain.
Let them come. Far beyond known space. The Null watched. Learning. Waiting. And for the first time, They hesitated, because humanity had done the impossible. They had made predators afraid.